Well, now and in the near future, Russia's leadership stays with President Vladimir Putin. But this is a very big day here in Moscow with a lot of sweeping changes to the rest of the political system here. First of all, it started with the president's State of the Nation speech, which is in itself a big landmark annual event, when the president surprisingly used that speech to announce these potential changes to the constitution, as you say, shifting some of the powers from the office of the president to the Prime Minister and the Parliament. There were some other changes announced in there as well about the term limits for the president and who is allowed to stand to be president. So that was a sign, perhaps, that things might change at some point in the future. It was seen as a possible indication that Vladimir Putin might be looking for a different role at the end of his current term, because under the current constitution, this term as president should be his last. But perhaps he might move into a different role with expanded powers. But then just a few hours later, we've had this news that the whole government has resigned, including the Prime Minister. So that throws everything up in the air. And I think everybody here in Moscow is trying to work out what this means, why this has happened, and what on earth might happen next.
Does this come as a surprise? And why did this happen, and why now?
Well, absolutely, it comes as a surprise. There was no indication in that speech from Vladimir Putin that what he was proposing would need any immediate changes. In fact, he himself said that he thought that the Russian people should have the chance to vote on these constitutional changes. He suggested a nationwide referendum, and we heard from authorities afterwards that that could be as early as this year. Those are the kind of timeframes that we were talking of just a few hours ago. But then this announcement in the last couple of hours, as I say, it's thrown everything up into the air. Why it's happened now doesn't really seem clear. What the government has said, the Prime Minister has said when he announced this change, is that he wants to give Vladimir Putin the space to enact these reforms, the space he needs, they say. Vladimir Putin has asked them, the members of the government for now, to stay on in their current positions while a new government is appointed. But beyond that, it's pretty difficult to see what will happen. It isn't very clear at the moment. It seems that it's all been amicable. The Prime Minister made this announcement while sitting next to Vladimir Putin on television, and he's been offered a newly created role on the Security Council. So he's not going away. He'll still be here. But there will certainly be big changes to Russia's political system, and it's not quite clear yet what exactly they will be.
There's Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said that they will provide Mr. Putin with the possibility to take the necessary measures to carry out the proposed changes. So this latest move, does it, bode well for the future of Russia then?
I think that very much depends where you're standing here. There are critics of Vladimir Putin, of course. This is the 20th year. It's more than 20 years now since he took office for the first time. He's been dealing with historically low popularity ratings and some problems in the country. There's been some slow economic growth. There have been high poverty rates. So he's been dealing with these problems, and he actually addressed those problems fairly directly in his speech today. He said he knows there's a feeling for change in the country. He sees it as his job to create the conditions for that change, and he wants to get on with it as soon as possible. It wasn't clear at that point that this was the change that he was talking about, though. And I think there are two schools of thought here. On the one hand, this could be seen as Vladimir Putin trying to throw everything up in the air, sweep everything off the table as a way of demonstrating that he wants to create that change, that this is a fresh start. There will be a new government, a new prime minister. And I think he might want this to be seen as a fresh start. It could bode well, as you say. On the other hand, those critics of Vladimir Putin who don't want to see him in power forever, for the rest of their lifetime, the rest of his lifetime, might be concerned that this paves the way for Vladimir Putin to stay on in power for significantly longer, because by making these constitutional changes, it appears it may allow him to step across into a different role with expanded powers from how that role used to be, and with the power to appoint those around him and change and shift the powers that are around him. So from their perspective, this could suggest that Vladimir Putin doesn't intend to go anywhere very soon.
Thanks, Lucy. That was Lucy Taylor joining us live from Moscow.